Rising. We have a stellar Thursday show for you today. We did a great interview with Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, actually, so you won't want to miss that. I thought it was pretty good.
I thought it was pretty good. She spent more time with us than I thought she had been scheduled for, and I appreciated that and asked her some important questions, I think, about this debate between what is populism, is right populism legitimate, what is the left's critique of it, and the kind of questions I think that she doesn't often get asked. So do check that out.
All due to your very professional question-asking nature.
I'm no Leslie Stahl, but I try.
We're excited to get to that in a minute, but first we have more news about Tucker Carlson. Take us away, Brie.
Yeah, well, Tucker Carlson has finally broken his silence days after parting ways with Fox News. He posted the following video to Twitter. Let's take a look.
Good evening, it's Tucker Carlson. One of the first things you realize when you step outside the noise for a few days is how many genuinely nice people there are in this country. Kind and decent people, people who really care about what's true, and a bunch of hilarious people also, a lot of those. It's got to be the majority of the population, even now. So that's heartening. The other thing you notice when you take a little time off is how unbelievably stupid most of the debates you see on television are. They're completely irrelevant. They mean nothing. In 5 years, we won't even remember that we had them. Trust me, as someone who's participated. And yet at the same time, and this is the amazing thing, the undeniably big topics, the ones that will define our future, get virtually no discussion at all. War, civil liberties, emerging science, demographic change, corporate power, natural resources. When was the last time you heard a legitimate debate about any of those issues? It's been a long time. Debates like that are not permitted in American media. Both political parties and their donors have reached consensus on what benefits them, and they actively collude to shut down any conversation about it.
You can watch the rest of that. It's about 2 minutes long. We played you the first half of it. You can watch the rest of it online, on social media. It was everywhere. Obviously, this was the first time Tucker had spoken. It came out, I think, pretty sure it came out right at 8 o'clock, so the same time period that he usually has on Fox. Obviously, he did not say anything specifically about Fox. For all we know, he is prevented from doing so if he wants to be paid out on the rest of his contract. My understanding of the economics here is that Fox plans to pay him for however much time he had left, which might be as much as 18 months we're hearing. So that if you're doing the math on that, it's about I think $30 million. So he might not be able to speak. And of course, that would keep him silent through the election. But here he's showing that maybe he can weigh in. Well, he's not specifically talking about, I mean, we don't know what the exact details are.
Right.
And they might be still being arranged. There was reporting from Brian Stelter that he had hired the lawyer, the entertainment lawyer, that same one Don Lemon has hired, allegedly, and that Megyn Kelly had for her exit with Fox.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously a huge difference if he can't talk about what Fox News, the context of his departure from Fox News, versus if he can't talk about politics or have a competing show. There's been discussions about whether or not he would have signed a non-compete, whether or not someone in his position would be coerced into doing something like that, whether or not he had enough power to have a contract that didn't limit him in those ways. I'm sure we'll find out very soon. It did seem to me that he was hinting at the idea of wanting to have some kind of show where he has some kind of conversation that is more substantive than the quote-unquote stupid debates that he described taking up much of the airspace right now. He did this interesting juxtaposition between there's good people out there, there's hilarious people out there, but the level of discourse is very, very bad. Do you think you say something like that if you aren't basically planning to elevate the discourse, at least subjectively? Right, and he was hitting on themes there that are broadly popular, are things people want to discuss and hear about outside of the very narrow confines of cable news. We know that as well as anyone else in the kind of YouTube alternative media ecosystem. So he will have no shortage of opportunities. He can do something like Joe Rogan. He could do something like Glenn Greenwald and all those people. He can do something like Matt Taibbi if he wants to write again. He's actually a gifted, brilliant writer. He could rejoin the Daily Caller, which he actually co-founded with a college roommate. Before he came to Fox, he divested of it, but that's when I worked for him. It's 12 years ago, it was there, and so on and so forth. So if he wants to be part of the dialogue and actually be even more, free to discuss,
We'll see if he'll be as influential. I think there's every opportunity that he could be, but Fox does have a very built-in audience, very loyal audience, millions of people, but you can reach millions off.
To that point, people were pointing out that his video, as of a couple of hours ago, has 42 million views. Now, the average Fox viewership for his...
On Twitter?
Yes, on Twitter. The average Fox News viewership is about 3 million, and people are taking that to mean that he can have more reach. Now, I don't think that those numbers are exactly perfect because, of course, the things that air on Fox get put on YouTube, and those also get millions of views on YouTube. So it's a little bit of an apples to oranges comparison. But I think the broader point that many more people watch even Fox's content on YouTube suggests that it's not the infrastructure of Fox News or any corporate media that you need to be successful. It really is a lot more about kind of names, topics, and branding these days than people having this kind of fidelity to institutional authority. So, what do you make of that? Do you think that there's something telling about the fact that he posted in the same old time slot and got 42 plus, this was a couple hours ago, but 42 plus million views on a segment that doesn't actually say much of anything.
Possibly because he can't say anything.
Sure.
We don't know what the exact situation he's in. No, it shows the incredible loyalty. Again, people should watch this Marjorie Taylor Greene interview that's coming up next on the show. She addresses it and speaks to how influential Tucker Carlson is for the kind of right populist, particularly on foreign policy, non-interventionist stuff. She was beside herself with anger about this decision for Fox to let him go. He has a very loyal following of eclectic alternative individuals that goes beyond the normal scope of Fox. I think that's inarguable.
Yeah, people were saying, there's this debate, right? I think it was a lot of people who had left Fox already. It was Megyn Kelly and some others who had mentioned that they think that Fox is going to be fine. Right? They were on the Fox is going to be fine side of things. I also agree that Fox is going to be fine. Yeah,
they are
but
going to be
that's a different question from what's going to happen to Tucker Carlson. And
they're going to both be fine.
There was this interesting article that pointed out, some people were saying, oh, well, look at X, Y, and Z person who thought they could live and be successful without Fox, who haven't been successful. But I think that the comparison to Alex Jones is more apt than some of the other comparisons that have been made to even Megyn Kelly, who, has a podcast and things like that. But I would argue is much less influential than she was when she was on cable.
She's a very successful podcast. She's doing very well. She doesn't have something like the platform she had at Fox, and I think you could say a similar thing, certainly a similar thing about Bill O'Reilly, Glenn Beck.
But
however,
Jones,
there are people, there are people, well, Alex didn't, he was never at Fox.
But the article that was making the comparison was pointing to a certain kind of a style and kind of cult of personality that both men have been able to cultivate that I think really does apply to Tucker Carlson in a way that other figures who you watch to interact with others or to weigh in on various news stories. As you see from this clip, Tucker Carlson literally doesn't. He hand waves at a bunch of kind of vague issues, but he isn't even making a point. But he has been able to harness this sense of paranoia. Somebody's out to get you. The world is unjust. And as you say, these are themes that people are interested in and which I think most of us believe are true on some level. But as I explained in the Radar from last year around the whole FBI abolishment discourse, there is a power that comes in that vagueness. You can hide a lot of things that people don't agree with in that vagueness, like great replacement theory and white supremacy that most Republican voters don't think is a good idea.
Ross Douthat, who's the New York Times kind of conservative columnist, had a great article about exactly what you're saying, the kind of paranoia, which I'm not even saying with a negative connotation.
No,
it's correct to be paranoid about some things.
Yeah.
Paranoia on the right increasing over time, and Tucker being a figure that kind of shepherds that change, where you used to find there used to be some skepticism and some paranoia, certainly in conservative circles, of institutions. There was always a lot of skepticism of the mainstream media and of like elite universities, but CIA, no, those are good people. There wasn't skepticism of like every institution.
Sure.
In fact, if you wanted people who were skeptical of like every institution, you were looking to like the left of the 60s, 70s, et cetera. That has shifted, not to say it's shifted on the left, but now on the right, it's not just skepticism of the mainstream media and like a couple institutions. It's all corporate, Disney. The arch conservatives want to go to war with Disney. They want to go to war with the FBI and the CIA and the State Department and the entire military-industrial complex. It used to be, what used to be confined to a couple institutions is now a widespread skepticism of authority everywhere. Yeah, and Tucker represents that transformation.
And to that point, here's an excerpt from the video that we didn't play. He said, at the same time, the liars who have been trying to silence them shrink and they become weaker. That's the iron law of the universe. True things prevail. Where can you still find Americans saying true things? There aren't many places left, but there are some. And that's enough. As long as you can hear the words, there is hope. See you soon. I don't think we've seen the last of Tucker Carlson.
Absolutely not. More Rising right after this.